like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to Diorpop. Have you ever noticed how the most meaningful stories are rarely found at the center of the spotlight? Not on the main stage. Not in the moments meant to be captured, replayed, and analyzed. But in the quiet corners. In the glances that last half a second too long. In the pauses between cheers. In the places where no one thinks to look. Tonight's story begins far from the cameras, high in the spectator stands of CXM Live Incheon, Day 3. Amid the noise, the lights, and thousands of voices, there was a different kind of moment unfolding, one that spoke softly but carried undeniable weight. Because sometimes, love doesn't announce itself. It simply exists. That night, the spectator stands at CXM Live Incheon. Day 3 looked like an ocean of light. Thousands of small glows flickered in the dark, waves of cheers rolled through the venue, and the bass from the stage vibrated through concrete and bone alike. From a distance, it was everything a live event was supposed to be: loud, electric, overflowing with energy. But in one quiet corner of the stands, far from the center of attention and untouched by roaming cameras, a different kind of story was unfolding. One that moved slowly. One that didn't need to raise its voice to be heard. Minghao sat back in his seat, posture relaxed, one arm resting casually against the barrier in front of him. His eyes followed the stage, but not with the sharp focus of someone fully immersed in the performance. His attention kept drifting, subtly, instinctively, toward the person seated beside him. There was nothing obviously unusual about him at first glance. He clapped when others clapped, smiled when the crowd erupted, reacted at all the right moments. And yet, there was a quiet stillness about him that felt out of place in a night like this. Jungkook wasn't restless. He wasn't distracted. He was calm in a way that suggested his thoughts were anchored somewhere else entirely. The shifting lights brushed across his face, briefly illuminating an expression that felt softer than the noise around them. Jungkook leaned forward slightly in his seat, elbows resting on his knees, eyes fixed, but not on the stage for long. Minghao noticed it within minutes. Every time the music surged, Jungkook's gaze drifted away. Every time the crowd roared, his attention slipped downward, toward the floor section below the stands. It wasn't obvious enough to draw attention from strangers. But to someone observant, someone like Minghao, it was unmistakable. His eyes always returned to the same place. Curious, Minghao followed the direction of Jungkook's gaze. He scanned the crowd below with quiet patience, letting his eyes adjust to the movement and light. And then he saw him. Jimin. He wasn't doing anything particularly remarkable. He stood among others, talking, smiling, occasionally laughing when someone said something amusing. The lights caught him just enough to make his presence clear even from a distance. There was an ease to him, a warmth that made him seem grounded despite the chaos around him. And Jungkook watched him the way someone watches something precious without needing to reach for it. There was no waving, no signaling, no attempt to catch his attention. Jungkook didn't even stare for long. He looked away, and then looked again. Small, habitual glances as natural as breathing. Like checking the horizon. Like making sure something important was still there. Minghao felt a quiet understanding settle in his chest. He had seen many kinds of closeness in this industry. Loud ones. Dramatic ones. Performative ones. Bonds designed to be noticed, interpreted, consumed. But this was different. This wasn't meant for an audience. It existed whether anyone noticed or not. The music shifted into a faster tempo, the crowd rising to its feet again. Jungkook clapped along, joined the energy, but even then, his attention slipped back down instinctively. It was unconscious. Reflexive. "You don't seem to be watching the stage that much," Minghao said casually, his voice low enough to be lost in the noise. Jungkook turned to him, surprised for half a second before letting out a soft laugh. "I am," he replied. "Just, not completely." Minghao hummed, eyes still forward. He didn't push. He didn't need to. A few seconds passed, filled only by music and cheering, before Jungkook spoke again. "He's there." The words were simple. Quiet. Jungkook tilted his chin just slightly, barely a gesture at all. Minghao followed it without question. "Jimin." There was something about the way Jungkook said it that made Minghao pause. No hesitation. No emotion pushed to the surface. Just certainty. Like stating a truth that had long since stopped needing explanation. As the night went on, Minghao kept watching, not the stage but Jungkook. He noticed the way Jungkook's shoulders relaxed whenever Jimin laughed. The way his expression tightened briefly when the crowd pressed too close around him. How Jungkook's hands clenched and released, as if grounding himself in moments only he could feel. It wasn't possessiveness. It wasn't insecurity. It was care, deep, instinctive, and quietly protective. "How long?" Minghao asked eventually, his voice almost swallowed by the music. Jungkook understood exactly what he meant. He didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed forward, trained on the floor below where Jimin now stood half hidden by shadows and moving lights. "A very long time," Jungkook said at last. The weight of that answer lingered between them. This wasn't a feeling born from the atmosphere of the night. It wasn't temporary or reactive. It was something that had grown slowly, carefully, over time, something that had stayed. Minghao exhaled, a soft smile touching his lips. Then he spoke, honestly, without embellishment. "You love him, in an extraordinary way." Jungkook turned to look at him. For a brief moment, surprise flickered across his face. Then something else followed, relief, maybe. The kind that comes when someone sees you clearly without asking you to explain yourself. He didn't deny it. He didn't joke it away. He didn't change the subject. He simply nodded. From the stands that night, surrounded by noise and light and thousands of people, Minghao understood something he wouldn't forget. Jungkook's love for Jimin didn't need to be loud. It didn't need to be declared or proven. It lived in the quiet glances. In the unconscious pull of his attention. In the certainty of knowing exactly where his heart was, even from a distance. That night at CXM Live Incheon, Day 3, amid music that would fade and lights that would eventually go dark, one truth remained unmistakably clear. Jungkook's love was there. Right where Jimin stood. And that's where tonight's story quietly comes to rest. Not with a grand confession. Not with a moment meant to go viral. But with an understanding, shared, unspoken, and deeply felt. In a venue full of noise and celebration, what lingered was something softer. A certainty that didn't need to be proven. A love that didn't ask to be seen, only to remain. Because some feelings don't belong to the stage. They live in the shadows of the crowd. In glances exchanged from afar. In the simple knowledge of where the heart chooses to stay. This has been Diorpop. Where the quiet moments speak the loudest. And the stories worth telling are the ones you almost miss.